The year before I decided to lock my hair, I would do protective styling a lot, and the two main styles I did were Two Strand Twists and box braids. Whenever I wore either of them, I always got the same type of comments from people. They would say, "Oh, are you starting locks? Oh, you would look good with locks. You should just keep those in and let your hair lock up. Congrats on starting your lock journey." And I'd be like, no. This is just a protective style. But in the back of my mind, those are the type of comments that kind of made me more curious about the different methods of starting locks. So when I started to do research, go to the tube and type in how start locks with two strand twists with box braids. I didn't necessarily start locks because other people made comments that I would look good in locks. That definitely influenced my decision. I'm not even gonna hold you. Hey y'all, welcome back to Holistic Flow. I am your girl, Lolo, and today I'm going to be comparing the different types of ways that you can start locks and giving my personal opinion on my decision to start locks the way that I did in order to answer a question from a member of our community. Awakened Spirit commented on one of my previous videos and asked, could I do a video on braids versus locks and the best method to start locks based on the look that they wanted to have? So I'll be answering that in this video. But before I get into it, if you are new here to my channel, hello. Here on Holistic Flow, we are creating a safe space, a space for self-love, self-growth, and maturity. And we're taking a journey towards an overall better mind, body, and spirit connection. So if you're with that, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications so you know when I upload a new video. And if you have done that, thank you so much. And let's get into this video. So firstly, I'm gonna give a little disclaimer that probably every single person in these type of lock videos gives, which is that I am definitely not an expert. This will be a video full of opinions. To answer the question of what is the best way to start locks, there's definitely no right or wrong answer. And the answer will be solely based off of the person who's asking and their opinion. Everybody's opinion is valid, whether someone else disagrees or agrees with it. Because I've only had locks for 6 months and my locks are barely even mature, I spent some time on the tube typing up, finding resources from people who are more experienced with locks, whether they be locticians, people who have had locks for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And based on their opinions, their expertise, I compiled the things that I'm gonna say today in this video. So if you wanna know where I got my information from, I will be linking all the videos that I watched down below. So in this video, I'll be comparing 5 different ways to start locks. I will be talking about the maintenance, the convenience of them, and the look of them. And then after that, I'll give my own experience of why I started my locks in the way that I did. The first method of starting locks is FreeForm Locs. People have described starting FreeForm Locs as many different things. Some people start just by one day washing their hair, not doing anything with it, just letting the plant, because I like to call the hair a plant, letting the plant grow and form however the plant wants to form. It is the most effortless way of locking your hair. I have also seen some people start FreeForm locks by sectioning off the hair, and based upon where the sections are, the locks just form in those sections. But then they just leave the hair, the lock as it is. The look of FreeForm locks looks free. It looks effortless. To me, it is really a statement to society saying that, hey, I'm gonna let my hair, my crown, do whatever it wants to do. I think it's beautiful. However, mainly to society, it isn't perceived like that. But honestly, that is their problem. If they don't like what they're looking at, they can look away. FreeForm locks can look like anything. Most of the FreeForm locks you'll see won't look like what media calls traditional locks, which are the cylindrical shape of locks that are regularly maintained. That is the look of FreeForm locks. As far as maintenance, the maintenance is very simple. You can wash your hair, sometimes condition it or not condition it, put oil on it or not put oil on it. You can literally wash and go, not wash and retwist and go, not wash and separate and go. You know, it's literally wash and go. So it is going to be the simplest way to maintain your lock style. And convenience of FreeForm Locs, in my opinion, is very convenient because of its simplicity. And that's pretty much it. The second way I'm going to talk about to start locks is by starting them with comb coils. Comb coils is when you take a comb and use gel to coil the hair in the direction of the perceived natural curl pattern. In my opinion, it's the most popular way that I see people have started their locks. The look of comb coils is going to have the most cylindrical shape. They often look the most clean out of all the ways that you can start locks. The maintenance of comb coils is done by coiling the hair with the comb. Mostly the comb coils are done by a loctician, and based upon the videos that I have watched from experienced people, this is what I have gathered about the maintenance. Because this involves using a comb at the root to gather the hairs, and I'll show a video on the screen of this process. The process of maintaining the comb coils requires you to use a tool that is basically for detangling your hair, for a process that you're using to try to lock your hair. Those two clash against each other because a comb detangles and a lock is when your hair is tangled, and that is the desired goal. I would just definitely keep that in mind if you are considering starting with comb coils as your locks. What makes comb coils convenient is that coils are the natural curl pattern of Afro textured hair, whether it's a very, very tight coil or a very loose coil. So if the cylindrical shape is what you want to go for when you start locks, or if you want to maintain that if you already have locks, the convenience of it is that it goes with your natural curl pattern. Something that ties into both maintenance and convenience is that oftentimes it's difficult to get your hair wet, go to the beach or go to the pool when you have comb coils, at least when you're first starting out with them, because it's easier for them to fall out compared to all the other ways that you can start locks. The third way to start locks is with Two Strand Twists, which is the way that I started my locks. And I'm probably going to be biased in this section because I think starting locks with Two Strand Twists is a great idea. I think Two Strand Twist locks can look very effortless, and even though you may have put in a lot of time to do the maintenance, Two Strand Twist locks can have a lot more character. Your hair, depending on how you maintain your locks, can keep their two-strand texture as it begins to lock. And when it keeps that texture, each of your locks is going to look different. No one lock is going to look like the next lock. So that's why I say that it's effortless, because it's not as cylindrical as the comb coil locks. You can maintain Two Strand Twist locks many different ways. You can palm roll them, which is what I do, where you take the root of the lock and do this motion with your hands, or you go back and forth, and that kind of creates more of a cylindrical shape in the lock, but it still enables the lock to still have the Two Strand Twist shape if you want to keep that shape. You can also interlock them, which includes taking a crochet needle and doing this method. You basically crochet the hair or crochet the lock into the base of the lock. That interlocking method works for some people, and for others it doesn't, but I suggest you do a lot more research on that. In my opinion, the maintenance of Two Strand Twist locks is pretty simple. It all depends on a number of things, such as how you want your parts to look, if you want them to look a little bit more crispy, or if you really don't care about parting. Because if you want them to look a little bit more crispy and defined, that will take more time during your maintenance. And also the amount of times that you retwist, meaning the amount of times that you palm roll, or if you choose to interlock, the amount of times that you do that is all up to you. And Two Strand Twist locks are very convenient, in my opinion. If you don't mind the frizz that comes with Two Strand Twist locks, frizz is something that's gonna happen regardless, no matter how you start your locks. However, from the sources that I have seen, frizz comes a lot more with Two Strand Twisted locks because of the way that people usually maintain the Two Strand Twisted locks compared to other types of locks. During the maintenance, you can sometimes see that the extra straggly hairs around the outside, some people wrap those hairs around the lock so that the lock looks a little bit more uniform. As with coils, you're maintaining the lock with a comb. Because it's with a comb, it's always going to look a lot more uniform because part of that process is kind of detangling the hair. The fourth way you can start locks is with braids. They're often called braid locks. The way you do these is literally just putting your hair in box braids and leaving them there for a long amount of time. Braid locks tend to keep their texture for a lot longer before they actually start locking compared to other methods of starting locks. Braid locks also tend to be a lot thinner because the braid kind of tightens the strands into each other. So based upon the look of braid locks, I would definitely recommend these for somebody who wants to have smaller locks in their head, and if you don't mind the texture of the braids still being in your hair. Most people who have braid locks interlock their hair, and for people who have those type of locks, it seems to work pretty well. Although if you do have a lot more locks in your head, interlocking will take a bit more time than other methods of maintaining your locks. Starting locks with braids seems to be very convenient. The versatility of braid locks is very well. Braid locks definitely aren't prone to slipping out when you get in the pool or when you get in the shower without a shower cap. They're pretty much in there. The only thing would be that if you install the starter locks in your hair using the braiding method and you go 2 weeks in and then you say, oh, I want them smaller or I want them bigger than what they are now, it would probably be a hassle to take out. So all of the factors such as, the look of it, the maintenance, and the convenience, it really does depend on your hair type, your preference, and your opinion. The fifth method for starting locks I will be talking about in this video is the crochet method or the instant lock method. They are two different words, but they mean the same thing. The way that you can start these locks is by taking your crochet needle and doing some type of motion where you take the hairs on the outside of the section and entangle them with the other hairs. That's the best way I can describe it, but I'll have a video to show you. And with this method, the previous day you can have loose hair, and then the next day you literally have locks. That's why they're called instant locks. The look of these locks can look like mature locks. It can depend on the texture of your hair, what they look like when you get them done. I've seen a lot of people who have looser hair textures that when they get them done, they don't exactly look like they've been through years of maturity, but they still look like if you were to jump in the pool and submerge your hair in water, that they would not come out. You can maintain instant locks or crochet locks by interlocking or palm rolling, the same way that you can maintain two strand twist locks. So I would say depending on which method you choose, the method could be pretty easy for you. I'd say instant locks are pretty convenient if you just decide that you want locks, because you can have them literally in a day, especially if you feel like you are impatient and kind of want to skip the whole journey of locks, which is totally valid. I would recommend them for you. That was my little spiel on all the different ways that you can start locks. And I know there are a few other types of locks out there, like semi-freeform locks, which is what I'm doing, but I still started with twists. And also you can start with lock extensions. But I guess I wanted to pick the most popular ones and compare all of those. And now I'm gonna talk about what made me choose to lock my hair with two strand twists. In the year before I decided to lock my hair, I would do protective styling a lot. And the two main styles I did were two strand twists and box braids with my own hair. These two protective styles were very similar, and for me both of them were convenient and they were very versatile. And whenever I wore either of them, I always got the same type of comments from people. They would say, oh, are you starting locks? Oh, you would look good with locks. You should just keep those in and let your hair lock up. Congrats on starting your lock journey. And I'd be like, no. This is just a protective style. But in the back of my mind, those are the type of comments that kind of made me more curious about the different methods of starting locks. So when I started to do research, go to the tube and type in how start locks with two strand twists with box braids, I kind of decided that I was either going to start locks with box braids or two strand twists, because those were the methods that I knew how to do, and I knew that I was going to be starting my locks myself because no one else really touches my hair. No one's touched my hair in like 9 years, for real. What made me choose to start with Two Strand Twists over box braids is that I like the look of how Two Strand Twists can keep the character of the locks. I knew that for my personal preference, I didn't want my locks to look like the most cylindrical shape, and I wanted all of them to kind of look different. I kind of wanted something between traditional locks, or what the media calls traditional locks, and FreeForm Locs. So I decided to put 2 strand twists in my hair and leave them in. And now I'm doing this semi-freeform thing where I'm starting to only retwist my hair about every 3 months. And I literally just started doing this. I didn't necessarily start locks because other people made comments that I would look good in locks. That definitely influenced my decision. I'm not even gonna hold you. However, I decided to start locks in general because of the convenience of locks. And I think the lock journey is an important thing for anyone to go through. It is really a journey of self-acceptance, because pretty much with every method that I talked about in this video, except with instant locks, there is stages that you go through in locks that they mature, they grow, and some days they may not look like what you want them to look like. For anybody to choose any type of method to start their locks with and just rock it is a big thing, a thing that should be acknowledged, really. So with whatever method that you choose to start locks with, if you're watching this and you have started locks already, or if you want to start locks, there's so many opinions out here on the best method or the not so good method. Just go with what you think is best for you. A lot of people start their locks over. So if it doesn't work out the first time like how you want it to, or how you kind of envisioned it in your head, and you're not satisfied, you can always start over. I hope this did answer your question, and to everyone else watching this video, I hope that this gave you some extra information that you can probably use. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, I'm sending peace your way, love your way, and joy to you, your family, and your friends. All right, y'all. Peace.